Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Geoff Stuhr. Thanks for being on the show, Geoff.
Hey, thanks so much, Whitney. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I got to meet Geoff recently with some of the neat projects that he's doing and adding value to a lot of people. And I'll let him share with you about that in a little bit. But a little about him, he is a principal at Smart Asset Capital, a vertically integrated commercial real estate investment firm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a strong focus on multifamily apartment investments. He's also starting Capital Club, a real estate private equity newsletter and community for individuals that are interested in investing in private equity real estate. Geoff, welcome to the show. I look forward to even getting to know you a little better, hearing a little more about your story here, because I know you've had a path getting into real estate. Now you've done numerous syndications, and I know many of the listeners are they're pushing to do the same thing, right? They're wanting to they wish they could be in your shoes. Many of them, or even if they think they're ahead of you, there's so much they can still learn from you as well. So give us a little about your story about getting into the syndication business and how you got to the first syndication.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I'm in a fun, as I was telling you before the show started, I just got this podcast mic, and I want to get on more shows, and even want to start our own podcast as well. I think I'm in a fun spot because I'm definitely not like super experienced, to be honest, but we're finding good deals and giving investors great returns and building this business. So it's kind of a fun place to be in because it's not really, truly scaled up yet. But to get back to how I got into syndications, I mean, as most people do, I bought smaller deals. I bought a few duplexes and then a condo and did. This was 7 years ago or so. I just kind of realized like it's not scaling as quickly as I'd like it to. At first my plan was, well, I'm going to buy a duplex or a small multifamily, or a residential, like single family flip, one a year. And then I was like, well, I can scale this so much further by partnering with people. And so I did a joint venture with my partner now, and actually my dad, who got a good deal on it because my partner and I did most of the work. But my dad and I have partnered on other deals too before, and that's gone really well. We're actually selling we're coming full cycle on a deal that we are selling on Friday. But we did this joint venture. I realized, more about scale and more doors. I'd started reading a lot of books about multifamily, all the big players in it. I've read pretty much every book there is on it. And so we bought a 34 unit apartment building, and that was a huge, like, value add mom and pop, deal. And it really, so around that time, I had started learning more about syndicating. That deal was not a syndication; it was just a straight joint venture, a third. That was we closed in January of 2019, I think, and so I had stumbled upon in my reading. I do a lot of reading, but I'd stumbled upon Jake and Gino and Wheelbarrow Profits, and everything that they had in their book really resonated with me, and so. Their methodology, everything that they were doing is what I wanted to apply to this 34 unit deal that we did. And there was a lot of work that had to go into it, but a lot of deferred maintenance and just other stuff. So I decided then that that we could go bigger even, and start raising money from friends and family. And, my partner is a real estate broker and has a lot of investor clients as well. And so I joined Jake and Gino's group to help with, I'll give them a plug and a shout out here. I really like them and everybody in the community. But I joined that because I figured, you know what, if I'm gonna start raising capital, I really want to have the support of a community and whatnot. And I mean, even with that support, we've made mistakes, but I think we've been quickly able to course correct just by being able to bounce ideas off of people. And so
no doubt about it. And I'll add to that. Numerous guests have talked about being in Jake and Gino's program, just another one not too long ago, just a few days ago, actually. And it's interesting, just what being in a group like that does, in some type of mastermind or mentoring program, just gives you another level of confidence that you would not have had otherwise. And I'll also say I've known Jake and Gino for quite a few years now, and just have nothing but great things to say about them. Just amazing guys, and they've created a great community too. That it's pretty incredible. But would you speak to a little bit, just like finding them versus all the other mentors that are out there? Was it just that book, like you mentioned? What was it about them specifically that made you say, okay, this is the one for me as a mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I like the kind of the, I don't know, some people call it the beer test or whatnot. I mean, there's a lot. I looked at a lot of them: Joe Fairless, Michael Blanc, Rod Cleef, and some others. And I just felt like what Jake and Gino had going on, I felt like I'd like hanging out with them. I'd probably like hanging out with the other guys. I like talking to anyone about real estate. And so, but it just, everything that they were about was resonating with me. And I just said, you know what, I like their value add mom and pop, apartment building approach. And so I went with them.
Tell us about the first syndication and how long then after that till you syndicated your first building.
Okay, so we did that joint venture in January of 2019, and then the first syndication was an 89 unit apartment building that we closed in May of 2019. So kind of right on the heels of that, and this is like, I mean, this property has been it's been such a learning lesson in so many different ways. And it's going to pull through. We've struggled a lot with it, but we made a number of, I don't want to say careless mistakes, but just, rookie moves. Right. And so bought that in May of 19. That deal had been under contract twice before. So if you think about it, for the full year, it was basically the property management company on site had been thinking, well, this is, we're selling this, right? So, there were some struggles with some of the tenants that we inherited. And we really learned the definition of economic occupancy. I don't think I was quite fully aware of that before that deal. We had a lot of people there, but not a lot of people.
Elaborate on that right there, because I think that's a valuable point that you obviously learned the hard way, but to keep the listener from learning that the hard way, because that's a great point. So elaborate on that. What is that, and what would you have done different?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think we didn't necessarily audit, in due diligence closely enough of who was paying. There was, they had done a decent enough job at keeping the physical occupancy at, 92 or something percent. We thought we could raise the rents, which we did. We were able to raise the rents, but we just inherited a lot of tenants that were, dodging and not trying to pay, trying to not pay rent. And so we had to go through and, really focus on collections. And then we, unfortunately we had to, part ways with some of the tenants, and some of those tenants, they don't typically go the way that, that you or I would go from a property. Right. So we had a lot of renovation costs and we wanted to do it right. So we did like a fully rebrand of the property. We were supposed to get some IO, and then kind of shortly before we were going to close, they called, and it's a Fannie Mae loan, and Arbor's the dust lender, and they had called and said, well, they basically changed the terms of the loan on us. And, knowing that today, I probably would have walked away. But that being said, we haven't, we're not losing any money. It hasn't cash flowed the way that we thought it would. And so I don't know if I still think we would do it, because I think it's been such a great learning lesson, and all of our deals since have been just stellar and phenomenal. And we've learned so much from it that I think it's still worth it. And this property we bought in May of 19, we struggled the whole way through 2019. We finally got there. And then we felt like we had the right, tenants in there. We went through 3 property managers on site. We felt we finally had the right property manager, and we had it rebranded. Everything was looking nice. We had our marketing and leasing systems down, because the systems thing was a lot different with that property than other ones. But now we've got those in place, and then the pandemic hit. And so there was more struggles with that, but like I said, or I didn't say this yet, but Q4 of 2020 was our best quarter yet by far. And Q1 of 2021 has started out fantastic too. So I don't want to say this. I said it at the end of 2019. I think we're finally turning the corner, and so who knows, but it's starting to do pretty well. And, that'll be if we can come out the other side, that'll be a really fun one to be able to tell that story on.
For sure. Well, speak to even the financing component a little bit. That's horrible, right? If you're planning on 2 years of interest only or 3 years, whatever, and then, days before closing or however long it was, the lender calls and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Here's the new terms," right? And they're drastically worse. That can just squish it. Just your deal is gone most of the time, right? And potentially your earnest money too, if you can't find a lender, that can make that work. What did that teach you? What would you have done differently now, knowing that? Because that could have been horrible, and it obviously hurt the deal. But you all still pushed through and made it work. What would you do different now, as far as the lending piece specifically? Well,
yeah, we were really in a pinch. We basically, we picked our horse and who we were going to go with lending, and our earnest money was hard, and it was. We didn't really have much of a choice. And so, there's obviously we could have asked for an extension. We could have done a number of things and try to figure out other financing. I probably would have done that and said, let's go a different route. But yeah, they basically came in, and we were supposed to have 2 years of IO, which would have really helped with, the repositioning. And so, it was just, it would have just taken a whole lot of stress off of us, but I think it forced us to really learn and forced us to really, really, really watch. We still meet about that property every week, and we have systems in place now that, that we watch the expenses like a hawk. We have all these metrics that we have a VA, that's basically working on marketing that property and getting leads over to our leasing agents, and all of that stuff that we did that I think really helps our other deals, because those systems are in place. They wouldn't probably be in place if we had that IO, because maybe we wouldn't have been as watching it as closely. So, but now, if someone were to call me like that, I wouldn't have pushed forward with that deal. They gave us a little bit better of a interest rate, and they basically said, they basically said that there will be no prepayment or defeasance after 6.5 or 7 years. So we do have a long window on the back end to sell it, which would be nice. And that kind of changed, but it really, really hurt or helped with, it hurt the property for the first couple of years, but it helped with our systems.
Yeah. Wow. So maybe it helped you long term to have more successful deals long term. Maybe that one didn't feel so great, but it's helped you to be better prepared for the next ones. Maybe you can speak to that as well. Some systems that you have implemented on deals after that, that either that deal taught you, or just any deals after that have taught you that the listener should be putting in place as well.
Yeah, we have weekly cadences, with and we're vertically integrated. So my partner, who's a broker, he also owns a property management company. They do third-party property management company, but they do all of our property management company for the smart asset capital deals. We meet with them. I think out of necessity. We realized that property wasn't going to go very well if we weren't all over it, all over the expenses, and meeting with the property management company weekly. And sometimes those meetings are, 10 minutes long, and sometimes they're 2 hours. But it's basically, the system is we have we go through and discuss the numbers, discuss the income, discuss the expenses, and then discuss with the on-site property management company or the on-site property manager, any relevant things that are going on that week or last week. And then another system that we have in place is, like I was saying before, our VA, who splits his time between trying to help us find deals from off-market sellers, and then trying to help us make sure that we have that our occupancy is phenomenal, and it has been even through the pandemic, and in some of our other deals, which are commercial. We have some deals that are commercial, not even multifamily, and he's just been super instrumental in helping us funnel leads to our leasing agents, and then us making sure that our leasing agents, call them right away. We've adopted some processes from Neil Bawa, just about using these VAs and having these people get contacted right away. Because if, it used to be like, well, we'd get a lead for it, and then, we wouldn't follow up with them for 6 days. And then, by then they've already rented something else. And so,
right. Speak to a couple of things or where's that VA located?
Philippines.
There you go. So speak to a couple of things that this VA is doing to help increase leads. Like what are they doing that's increasing the leads or just increasing that turnover? Talk about that system just a little bit, because I think it's very valuable. And I talk about it all the time, hiring and using VAs. I've used numerous people in the Philippines, and I have a great lady there that's full time for me now. And honestly, she speaks better English and has better grammar than I do. And I can pay her. It's so cheap, but it is like double what she was making as a teacher there, yes. So, it's benefiting her and her family and in so many ways. And she's been a great asset to our team. But speak to the process a little bit that this VA does as far as increasing the traffic, because I think that can help a lot of listeners that are, wondering what's going on with their management company as far as, how can they help them to increase the traffic, and how do you all do that?
Yeah. Well, so, and by the way, we brought him in full time as well. So he's, and he's getting paid, more than he was, when he was kind of with that company, and we're splitting sort of the cost. But so he's super fired up, and he's happy, and like you were saying, his grammar is better than mine, and it's scary almost, like. He's just been an awesome asset for our team. We talk, we message daily, pretty much on WhatsApp or Facebook. But he's really good with social media. He, I don't want to say he manages our social media pages for the properties and for our brand, but he's very active on there, and he's just consistently posting about any. He takes our property management company is posting about any, open units, right? So, and he'll go repost that stuff, and he's just very, very quick to respond to any leads, and then he funnels those leads to the leasing agent. So I would just say consistently posting on social media and all different kinds of channels about any open units that we have there. We pay a little bit to sponsor some of those posts, so that does help too. But then it's just his quick responsiveness and funneling him, and he kind of coordinates with the leasing agents, and so that's basically the process. He'll help with follow up with leasing agents. So that's been instrumental to helping us keep our vacancy so low.
So Geoff, early on you were talking about, you wanted to scale, right? We all want to scale. Everybody's trying to figure out how to scale, what the next book is. Like you mentioned, you read so many books about it, and I have as well. Could you elaborate on one or two things that did help you to scale, helped you to move to the next syndication? What were, one or two things that helped you to get where you're at now from the first syndication?
One or two things. Okay. So first thing is partnering. So, right. And that was even on the first syndication, right? Like networking. I wouldn't be doing the deals that I'm doing without the partners that I have. So Adam and Brock's been on your show. He's been phenomenal. And we've all got a really good chemistry, a good friendship, and a lot of trust. And, we work really hard to build this thing. So partnering and networking. And then the second one actually is the same thing, networking. We started a real estate meetup. I'd been going to real estate meetups, a bunch of them in Wisconsin. And I just kind of felt like most of them were geared towards, single family fix and flip investors. And so we started the Wisconsin Apartment Investors Meetup, and then it's since grown to like out of the Milwaukee area to Appleton and to Madison. So that sort of brand in and of itself has grown. And I think we were able so that really helped with networking. We put a lot of time and effort into those meetups. We do a really, it's kind of, the attendance has waned, and I've since moved, and I've been back and forth between Milwaukee and out west. But we at the peak of it, we were getting 50 people to show up and speakers. And what that did was just, candidly got a lot of leads into our funnel. Right. And then we did another deal, and the investors that were in that deal were very happy. They got to know us and trust us. And then, I think, success begets more success, right? If you do a good deal and you do right by investors and they're happy with the outcomes, they tell their friends. And then and that meetup was always a great place to be able to just meet and build relationships. There's people that are investing in this current deal that we have under contract now that we met two years ago at the meetup, that had just kind of, stayed in touch and stayed in contact with us. And so, as I think about scaling, what I'd like to do is emulate some of the things that you're doing with the podcast and just kind of try to cast a wider net. We've got a really nice thing going in southeastern Wisconsin. We're looking at potentially buying in different markets, and we're looking at trying to scale and find investors from other markets as well. We do have investors in California and Chicago and New York and so other states, but just to cast a wider net and get the name out there more and get more known, and honestly just try to help more people. I really do believe in that. The more people that you can help, and if you can take the long-sighted view, I think it's going to work out. I don't know. Like I said, I'm in this kind of phase where it's like, I'm not for sure that like we're going to build a great big business, but it's going pretty well the last couple of years.
Geoff, do you have any daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Well, I'm constantly trying to work on habits. I'm big into habits and goals and everything. If you see, I got all this stuff behind me. This says "Be Great" right here, and a lot of books about that. So I use the Way of Life app. I don't know if anyone uses that, but I would recommend it. And I honestly would like to even just buy it if I could find who owns that app. And because there's so many cool things about it. In the tech world, they talk about OKRs a lot, objectives and key results. And it's like usually measured on a quarterly basis. Way of Life helps you really track your daily habits, and then look at it in like a weekly view. And I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years. So you can look back and see, and a lot of those goals change, but I guess, to answer your question, I try to wake up early, like between 5 and 5:30. I try to work out like early, usually right away in the morning, but sometimes like today I'll work out after this show, but I try to work out before noon, because if I don't get a workout in, it doesn't have to be the best workout ever. It could be a 30-minute jog, but just to be able to do that and say, okay, I got that done. That's healthy. And then, and it just clears my mind. And then I also try to either write or review my goals in the morning when I'm kind of sitting there and, groggy and just getting going at 5 a.m. And then I have pretty much all my personal finances go through mint.com. So I use that platform and I check on that, and I check on our property's finances almost on a daily basis. I mean, it is hard to go through a lot of, that's why I like mint.com. I'd like to explore Stessa from a real estate perspective, to try to tie in, all of our different bank accounts in the Appfolio property management. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I want like a dashboard that I can just see the daily picture. And then I reconcile any sort of finances. So my thought is, if I wake up early, if I work out, if I write or review my goals, and my goals can be like, I either do quarterly goals or like, bigger, like 3-5 year goals. And then kind of get a view of the financial picture for the day and reconcile some things. Then I feel like I'm ready.
If you don't have any goals, how do you know where you're going, right? Or what's your vision for where you are headed? And maybe you answered this, but I like to ask, the number one thing that's contributed to your success.
Networking.
What about your best source for meeting new investors right now?
Best source for meeting new investors right now. Honestly, referrals from other investors. I'm trying to build up a newsletter that'll not only help. I mean, really, this newsletter, and it's called Capital Club. Not to plug my stuff too much, but what I envision it, and I want to build it as somewhat of a community to connect operators to investors, and so hopefully that can help us with getting new investors, but even folks like you, like people that we want to highlight that we think, hey, these are good people. They're really good at what they do in commercial real estate investing, and if we can kind of create that community, and we're doing a newsletter, a free newsletter. I'm trying to build a course called the Wealthy LP, and then kind of like a mastermind group where we're going to have resources for LP investors, and then also having featured folks like you to come in and hopefully talk to them, get the meet and greet. I've helped our investors invest in other deals because I genuinely want to be helpful. So I'm trying to build that as another source, a little bit selfishly, that it'll help us do more deals, getting more capital, but hopefully it can be a resource that'll help them as well.
And how do you like to give back?
You know what? I knew you were going to ask this question. I have to do more of it. I do. I try to be very generous on individual, like sort of GoFundMe opportunities when I see that on Facebook. When it's real to me, and I know the people that may be going through something tough and struggling, I try to be extremely generous. I definitely want to start getting a lot more involved as the business scales. I want to designate a certain amounts or percentages to give back to certain charities, and so we haven't quite gotten there. Right now, I give back kind of just individually, GoFundMe pages, and when I see people that may be in need, I really like to provide in a big way there, but I do want to start thinking about a certain percentage of income or whatever, right?
Sure.
That it's designated.
No, that's awesome, Geoff. I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you listening to the show too. You knew I was going to ask that. So, Geoff, thank you again for your time. And I just think it's interesting hearing, how people get in the syndication business, and obviously, we all think we're not scaling fast enough, right? But how you, kind of grab the bull by the horns, and and found a mentor, and started doing deals. You JV'd, you found investors. You want to start raising money. You have done that, and now, you syndicated. That first deal, which we talked about, which you learned so much from, and has paved the way going forward for some very successful deals after that. Congratulations on that. And again, not quitting there, right? And I think the listener, it seems like so often I'm saying lately, congratulations that you didn't quit, when you hit this roadblock. And so expect the roadblocks, right? Expect to get punched in the face, right? And have to get back up and keep going. And I've said it numerous times, even today on many shows, if you quit and you stay down, well, that's when you lose, right? That's when you lose. So thank you for sharing your story and just how you push through numerous difficulties, especially on that first deal. But the partnering, networking, and things you're doing now to really push forward, hopefully inspires many of the listeners. How can they get in touch with you and learn more about you, Smart Asset Capital, and the Capital Club?
Yeah, well, I'm on social media. I'm probably not active enough, but you can find me. My name starts with a G, so Geoff Stuhr. You can find us at smartassetcapital.com. We've got a deal under contract right now. Not that we're promoting that, and then I'm also starting this Capital Club newsletter, which would be www.capitalclub.io, and it'll be a newsletter, a course for LP passive investors, and resources for folks that want to passively invest in syndications, and then some, a mastermind community down the road. So any of those places you can find me. I get back to people pretty quickly. I'm kind of all over the place, but and I don't post enough on social media, but that's one of the things I'm going to start doing here. So thanks so much for having me. You're the man, Whitney. And it was fun interviewing you. I learned even more about you. I've listened to your podcast a lot for a while, but it was great to get to know you more, man. And I want to emulate what you have going on.
Thank you for that, Geoff. Appreciate you listening as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.